Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a look inside the life of one American family to try and understand the much bigger story of how families are actually built and what challenges they face right here in the U.S.
So how are modern families really built? I mean, it's a question that goes way beyond those picture-perfect images you see, right? It's really about navigating this incredibly complex web of personal choices, huge financial pressures, and all these societal shifts. So let's dig in and see how it all actually works.
And this is where our story really begins. We meet Vanessa and Dan, their parents to two young boys, and they are staring down this exact question. It's just such a personal, deeply relatable moment, and it's the one that kicks off this whole cascade of decisions that really defines what modern family life is all about.
So once they decide to go for a third child, it immediately brings us to the very real decisions and costs that come with pregnancy. You know, in the United States, this is not just a biological process. It's a series of really high-stakes choices, both logistically and financially.
Okay, so here's a choice a lot of parents probably don't expect to make. Their local birth center closed down, so suddenly Vanessa and Dan had to choose a hospital birth or a home birth. A home birth felt right for them, but, and it's a big but, it meant they'd have to pay for a midwife completely out of pocket. $10,000. Let that sink in. That's the potential price tag for a C-section in a hospital if you don't have insurance. It's just a really stark reminder of the immense financial pressure that shapes some of a family's most personal, most intimate healthcare moments. All right, so fast forward. The baby arrives, and a whole new world of challenges opens up. And in this day and age, one of the absolute biggest is parenting around technology. You know, managing screen time. So to deal with it, Vanessa and Dan didn't just wing it. They created this really clear three-step system. Step 1, no personal devices for the kids. Simple. Step 2, all shows are watched together on a communal TV. And Step 3, viewing is strictly limited to a specific time and for a set amount of time. It's a very deliberate plan, not just a reaction. And this quote from Dan, this really gets to the why behind their rules. It just perfectly captures that deep anxiety that's fueling their strategy. For them, it's not just about managing behavior. It's about protecting their family from what they see as a genuinely destructive force. Of course, it's not all about external pressures like technology. There are the internal dynamics too. How do modern couples actually divide up the, let's be honest, the endless labor of running a household and raising children?
Well, their solution was to treat it kind of like a business. They actually held what they called a chore delegation meeting, and this table pretty much shows you the result. While Vanessa was pregnant, her main job was, growing the baby. So Dan formally took on all those big daily chores, dishes, laundry, tidying up, and that often epic task of putting the kids to bed.
But, and this is so key, it wasn't a rigid contract. They always said there was this little asterisk on their system. The real rule, the one that mattered most, was always flexibility and partnership. If one person was overwhelmed, the other one just stepped in, no matter whose chore it was on the list. The goal wasn't just to delegate, it was about mutual support. As the children get older, the next monumental decision point arrives: education. For American families, this is often a huge crossroads, one filled with anxiety as they weigh public schools, private costs, and all the alternative paths out there. You know, in the U.S., the vast majority of kids in K through 12, we're talking 84%, are in public school. But there's a pretty significant and growing number of families opting for private school or even homeschooling. This diversity really reflects a broader questioning of the traditional education model. And that questioning, it gets way more intense when it comes to higher education. I mean, with the absolutely staggering cost of a degree, families are forced to ask a really tough question. Is it still worth the debt? For a whole generation that started their adult lives buried in student loans, the old assumption that college is the only path to success, well, that's just not a given anymore. So after navigating all of it, the finances, the technology, the chores, the education choices, what are you left with? I think this quote just cuts through all the modern complexities. It suggests that despite all of today's unique challenges, the very core of family life remains this fundamental, timeless human experience. And that brings us to you. We've just walked through one family story, and it reflects these bigger American themes of cost, technology, and really difficult choices. But of course, these challenges look different everywhere. So the final question I want to leave you with is this: what's the biggest challenge shaping family life in your own community?